I do take it personally. I mean, I did. I took it very personally, and I couldn't shrug it off like I knew I should have. I mean, I'd go to school and they would be making fun of me, and then I'd try to kind of like, just be like, oh, okay, but I definitely, it was obvious that it had an effect on me, and I didn't know how to handle it, and my parents weren't any help, and my friends, they expected me to shrug it off, but it was too hard for me to do because of just everything that was happening.
Do you think that what happened to you happens to other teens and to that extent?
I definitely think that other teens are affected by bullying. I think that stuff similar to what happened to me has definitely happened to that extent, and I definitely think that bullying is a huge problem. And for girls, it's more psychological normally, and for guys, it's normally more physical. But definitely bullying is a huge problem and needs to be stopped.
Looking back, would you do anything differently? Could you have done anything differently?
Looking back, I definitely would have maybe tried to shrug it off more and made not such a big deal out of it. I think that if I hadn't have done as much, then it might have been a little better, and people would have let it go earlier than it did. I imagine that if I went back there, people would still make fun of me for what happened. But I don't think that I can really change anything now. The only thing that I can do is just hold my head up high and just make things better for what is happening now. Make things in my life, live more in the present, and instead of focusing on the past and the damage that it did, take what I learned from that and just keep moving forward and make a better life for me now.
Bullying isn't always at school, especially nowadays in the 21st century. Sites like Facebook, MySpace, and Twitter can be just as brutal and harassing. There is little solace for teens today. They can be hazed and bullied at school, and then come home to find that they're being pushed around and made fun of in the gray area of the law that is the internet. For some, this never-ending torment can become deadly, as is in the case of Lexi Winslow. We have here Mrs. Winslow to talk about her daughter.
I do not know exactly when this all started. Lexi had many friends. She got good grades, and she was always energetic and had a smile on her face. She had so many hopes for the future, but wanted to enjoy the present as well. She had many friends, most of which she had known since she was in kindergarten. They were all so close. I noticed minor signs, but it was so much worse than I could have ever imagined. She liked chatting with her friends on Facebook, but she was always so active around the house. It all happened so fast. Lexi began to retreat in her room, always on that computer. She refused meals and grew quiet. I soon set my foot down and took away that computer, and she would just sit on her bed and sulk. She wouldn't tell me what was wrong. My husband gave in to her pleas, and the computer was reinstalled, but she just continued to break apart. I realized none of Lexi's friends had been over at our house in months. She would only go outside for school. She used to love getting ready for school. Now she was begging me to let her stay home. I kept trying to get her to talk, but she kept shrugging me off, saying it was just teenage problems. She grew irritable whenever we confronted her, and then I found her. She was lying on her bed. There were pills scattered across the sheets and the floor. All I can remember is hearing myself scream for my husband to call an ambulance. It was too late when the paramedics arrived.
How did you find out about the messages on Facebook? And were you able to determine the event that started the bullying?
My husband found out about it from some other student at our school, and he learned from this other student that there were postings on this site, and we saw them, and It was just so horrible. These girls we knew, they had all turned against her. And they were saying such terrible things. I mean, these people had come in our house, and they were so close together. It's just, I can't imagine how people that seem so kind could actually do this to my daughter. She'd never done anything that would anger someone, and yet people were saying such hateful things. I just can't understand.
What legal actions have you taken against those responsible?
There really isn't that much I can do legally against these people. Apparently they have a freedom to post what they wish on that site, no matter how hurtful it is. There really isn't any protection we have against postings like this online, and the perpetrators really just can't come to justice on this sort of things. There's nothing we really can do.
After all that's happened, and all that your family's been through, do you think you still blame yourself for what happened?
You can never really get over the loss of a child, but I always think that there is something I could have done, some signs I could have seen, more I could have, just more. It always goes over in my head, and it's been so many months now that she's been gone, but I don't know. All I can hope for is to move on.
Do you think you could have stopped what happened?
That's gone over in my head so many times. Just wondering if I could read the signs. The whole transition, it seemed so fast. I always think to myself, I should have done this, I should have done that, but we didn't understand back then. We had no idea what was going on. It's just one of those things. I don't know, but I wish I did at that time. She would have been here with me.
Bullying is just attributed to be part of the high school experience. What people fail to realize is that the motivation behind bullying can carry on into adulthood. In essence, bullying is the failure to accept other people around us. As a culture, America has inspired the idea that every day is a struggle, and that struggle is what makes us stronger. This might be true, but the failure to accept one another is not a struggle, but a gauntlet that is never-ending and forever scarring. As can be seen in the poem Barbie Doll by Marge Piercy. This has been This American Life, brought to you by Rachel Young.